Welcome to the Cincy PostCast, presented by Gold Star, Cincinnati's winning team. Off the pitch, I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get into this very special holiday episode of the PostCast, I really want to tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery. They are sponsoring this episode as they have all year. They have been amazing partners with us here at the Post, and for that, they deserve your patronage, okay? You should go and check out Streetside. They're over the east side of Cincinnati, Columbia, Tusculum neighborhood. Awesome local brewery. Go check them out. They have every type of beer imaginable there. They are so good at everything. They have some great Christmas beers, some nice, warm, dark beers on right now. You got to go check them out. Mention the PostCast. They'll knock $1 off of your beer when you're checking out, when you're clearing your tab there at Streetside. They're good people. They're available elsewhere. You can check them out. I know I can grab them at Jungle Gems, either location. There's good stuff to be had around town. You can find them out there. It's good stuff. I absolutely love Streetside. You've got to go check them out. So a huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this episode. And as I said, virtually every single episode of 2024. Absolutely love those guys. They deserve your business. And on today's episode, well, like I mentioned, it is a very special holiday edition of the PostCast. This is, we're feeling the Christmas spirit on this episode, okay? There will not be an episode later this week. This is your one and only for the PostCast, so maybe savor it, maybe split it up a little bit. But this episode is just, honestly, it's all about Christmas. We sprinkle Patreon questions all throughout this thing. We had so many questions about Christmas. It made sense to do a full-blown Christmas episode. So I really hope you enjoyed this about as much as we enjoyed recording it. It's a really fun episode. I think you're going to love it. So enjoy this very Christmas episode of the PostCast. Oh, and joining me, of course, as always, joined by the Chief, joined by Grayson. It's the holidays. It's the Christmas episode, gentlemen. How we made it another year doing this daggone podcast. How we feeling going into the home stretch of 2024?
Kevin, I can't believe after what we saw in that schedule release that we're not going to talk about the schedule.
Look, it's not my preferred date for Hell is Real, but you know, they always do that to us every year.
I mean, the number of road trips we're taking, the number of long stretches away from TQL Stadium, and that big break for the Club World Cup. Ugh. We're recording this before the schedule gets released. So.
Of course.
Stay tuned. We will do a full schedule preview after the holidays, but we figured that nobody really wants to hear the schedule breakdown right now, especially since, you know, they're not exactly playing the games anytime soon. There'll be plenty of time for that.
Yeah.
Thought we'd do something a little more festive since we're entering into the most holy of holy holidays going into this week.
Although the Christian high holiday is Easter. Real ones remember.
Yeah, but if you add up all the days between Christmas and the Epiphany, it's more. So we're recreating Easter in the aggregate.
Look, I never got an
We're gonna Moneyball Easter.
I'm not sure that's theologically sound.
Look,
but I don't care.
I never got an N64 for Easter. Okay, so I'm gonna have my memory of which holiday I appreciate slightly differently here.
That's a good point. We should pivot to commercializing Easter.
But have you ever made a little cross out of a palm leaf for Christmas?
That is true.
Makes you think.
601, what they say.
poinsettia to the other? What?
So I think this is the time to reflect, especially upon the holiday season itself. I don't know about you guys, but this season is always just one full of traditions. It's all just random traditions, things that started. I feel like in a lot of ways the Christmas music is like the music of the Christmas of the baby boomers, and so every season we're just sort of recreating baby boomer Christmas. It's a very funny time to continue family traditions. So do either of you, Grayson, do you have a family tradition that is like maybe off the beaten path or your favorite? What do you think in the air?
I'm not sure I have any particular tradition. We've always growing up. We always did our extended family Christmas on Christmas Eve, and then we would have, and then we would go to the not Easter Vigil. We would go to the we go to midnight mass, which now that it's like a soft generation, midnight mass is now at like 10 p.m.
Yeah, trash.
And then we would, and then I wouldn't sleep. Like I would not, I couldn't sleep. I would just get in my room and I would just be up all night. And then I would wait until, you can see some sun and I'd be like, oh, I'm allowed to go wake everybody up.
Game on.
And then my mom would make a sausage and egg casserole, which like to this day, I want it. Like it's so good. I mean, I guess it's like maybe my number one association with Christmas is the sausage, egg, and cheese casserole. So yeah, that's really the main traditions.
You know what's funny? You were mentioning I couldn't sleep all night. This is absolutely true. And people that know me know this to be true. I am not a morning person by any stretch of the imagination. I stayed up late even as a kid. I was one of those kids that had the flashlight that I'd use to read late at night. I listened to the radio late at night, especially during the Reds years, listening to the Reds games that were on after bedtime. I was not a good bed person at all. And so that was true on Christmas as well. I slept in. Even as a kid on Christmas morning, I wouldn't be out of bed until most Christmases, 10 o'clock, 10:30. Just that was my jam. And like everybody else I knew, they were up crack of dawn, can't wait to open presents. My attitude was always, they'll be there.
I would go down and I would sort all the presents for everybody. Like I would make everything really and be like, and make a pile for everybody in my family.
I don't remember ever doing that. It's like Christmas has always been weird for me because that's not weird. It's like a lot of people probably have this experience. Not so much in Cincinnati. Cincinnati is very much at least when I was growing up, it was a lot of people from Cincinnati. There weren't a lot of everyone was born, raised, die Cincinnati, especially West Siders. But my mom's family is from Pittsburgh. My dad's family is from New Jersey, and I was born in Florida. So we've never lived in any area where we had extended family. So this I've got to go to Christmas on this Christmas and then do extended family Christmas and then do all that. That was a concept I wasn't introduced to until I got married to a West Sider. So we never had that growing up. It was just my sister, my father, my mother, and I. And then by virtue of my dad's job, my dad worked a lot of Christmases. So there were a lot of Christmas Eves where, dad wasn't home because dad was working. He had to do the late show. And so family Christmases, this big family thing, I didn't get introduced to that until late in life. And let me tell you, I was not prepared for the smoke of having 25, 30 people all under one roof doing the whole Christmas thing.
It can take a long time.
You sure can.
if you've poorly organized it, it can take a long time. That has been an ongoing battle on my mom's side is that everybody, like, I've got a bunch of aunts and uncles and cousins, and we'd all go over to grandma's on Christmas Day, like in the afternoon, way into the late night, because everybody'd buy gifts for each other. Everybody would take turns one at a time. Everybody had to like give all their attention to that person. It'd take us 4 hours to get through this. And like, once we started bringing little kids around, we're like, hey, this is not going to work. Like, they've got to go to bed. Their attention span is shot. Like, they have a house full of presents that they want to get back to and play with. Like, we got to pick up the rate of play here, folks. It's rough. I'll say, though, for breakfast, Grayson, to your point, it is the tradition of traditions in our family that breakfast is largely made up of cookies. For Christmas, we always do iced cookies. That's a big moment where we make a whole ton of iced sugar cookies, and you got to eat the cookies on Christmas Day. Like, that is what we are all building towards. Sure, there's some other things floating around, but you're eating cookies for breakfast.
So we did not have like a special cookie. I mean, we did like the cut cookies with the shapes and made like chocolate chip cookies and stuff, but we didn't have like any special Christmas cookies. My wife's family makes a cookie from where they're from that is the closest thing I can think to of it is like a Mexican wedding cookie. If you've ever had one of those, it's just like a little less sugar than you get with like a Mexican wedding cookie, but it's like a very similar thing. And so that's something that we've kind of adopted.
That's nice. Yeah. Oh shoot, what do we call them? Peanut butter blossoms, the ones with like a Hershey Kiss sitting in the middle.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why, but like that's a Christmas cookie to me. Yeah. That's always this time of year.
My mom used to make brunch. It's very similar to Grayson. Like breakfast was always the biggest meal at Christmas. Like we'd do a Christmas dinner, and that would be a revolving thing. There was never any like tradition in the Chief household. Like sometimes we did steak one year. We did lasagna a couple of years. That's a tradition my dad has picked back up. So when I go to my dad's house for Christmas on Christmas Day, he always makes lasagna. And for being an incredibly Irish Catholic dude, like, makes a mean lasagna. I got to give him credit on that one. If you would have told me my dad turned out to be a good Italian chef at some point in his life, I would have knocked me over with a feather on that one. But no, breakfast was always the best part of Christmas. It'd be, pancakes, bacon, eggs, sausage. Yeah. It was just a entire feast. And some leftover Christmas cookies that were just there that you could nibble on and you could snack on. And that was great. Like, you'd wake up, for me, not that early, get your presents open, and then it was brunch. And that was awesome. Like, I loved... That's my favorite family holidays growing up, is when like you would have the brunch as a family at home, and it was just leisurely rolling into whatever else was going on with your day. And especially for us, because we didn't have like extended family to go to. It was just the group of us. It was, we had no place else to go. So why not have a big ass breakfast, and then everybody can sort of nap off whatever it was that you ate, all the carbs in the morning.
Oh my gosh. To what we're talking about here, I'm going to sprinkle in some Patreon questions because we had a bunch of, I think, obviously holiday themed Patreon questions. Brandon Ramey asks a question here that is going to take us on a little bit of a journey, but it's worth reading every word. Brandon posted, in light of the Christmas season, the PostCast told my son Santa wasn't real. And when he told my wife the podcast I was listening to with him in the car told him that, she asked what the hell kind of show I was listening to. So my question is, this off season, what other kinds of news can you help the 12 break to our kids/families? I don't remember doing this at all.
That was me. That was me. Hand up. We all knew it was me as soon as you started saying that, reading that.
I do want to hear the I want someone to provide like the episode and timestamp, because I'm curious. I just want to go back and like listen to the context of this. But I mean, you should know if you're listening to our show with your kids.
Yeah. My nephew is not allowed to listen to Uncle Chief. He's not allowed to listen because Uncle Chief says bad words on his show.
Maybe we should stop doing that, but
probably. I've tried to cut back. I've made an effort.
I feel bad every time I do it. Does that count?
No, it just makes you guilty. Other news we can break.
What age group we talking here?
Let's say below 7, 6. When do you stop believing in?
Gosh, it's
the big North Pole lie.
I don't know, that's what did Trump say? He's like 5 or 6. You're kind of
you're not still believing in the Santa thing, right?
You're kind of past the Santa thing, right?
You've just started completing full sentences. You're kind of done with that, right?
Yeah.
You can't be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
Your dog didn't go to live on a farm and run around.
If you aren't the best kid on your sports team right now, you're probably not going pro.
95% of what you learned prior to the 3rd grade is kind of nonsense.
Yeah, but it is sort of like a controlled nonsense, or they sort of teach you things with the expectation that they'll fix it later. That is my favorite part about the American education system.
You're better off reading. Just read more, and everything else will sort of sort itself out.
Yes.
You don't need to go. You really don't need to go like straight through college, or like it's okay. Like if you take a little time off, it's okay. If you transfer schools, like basically nothing that happens until you're like on your job track is a real I mean, don't kill anybody,
right?
But other than that, like,
unless they're the CEO of a health company or something.
Still don't.
No, please don't.
I don't want to get charged with terrorism.
Guess what? You just became an accomplice too.
Oh no.
But yeah, like nothing. You'll bounce back from basically anything.
Yeah.
Anyone that you think is
your
cool,
grades don't matter.
Your grades don't matter.
Yeah.
Anyone
my God. The grades is so crazy. Like once you're in college.
Time out. Your grades matter in that, like, you got to get into college, and
yes.
you got to get into into a decent enough college.
Once you're in trade school,
or just go to trade school. Yeah. If your goal is to go to college, your grades matter.
Join the army. I don't
care.
But
once you're in college, like once you've reached that step, your high school grades never once mattered.
No. Specifically, if we're talking about like Santa age, important to know. The cool kid in your grade school will not be cool past grade school. And if he's cool past grade school, he won't be cool past high school. So don't worry about any of that.
They still might be.
They're not. They're not.
If you're like a really smart, like 7th grader, and you're telling yourself like, well, these kids, like, they're not gonna, like, I'm gonna be rich someday, and they're gonna work for me.
That's probably cope.
They're not going to. They'll be fine. They'll go get they'll get sales jobs, or they'll work for their parents. They'll be fine.
Yes,
you will get a technical degree that's very, very difficult, and you'll make less than the sales guy.
Yeah. He'll be selling the thing that you making more than you.
Right.
Adults are grown-up children. They don't know what they're doing either.
Right. We're making it up. We're lying to you when we say we know what we're doing 99% of the time. And most people are just faking like they're confident on things.
When you find out that your parents are not perfect, you're going to take it as a personal attack, as a way that they've failed you, and as like they've like been lying to you your whole life, or your whole world is like shattered. Don't do that.
No,
they didn't do it on purpose.
If you absolutely need to be somewhere, take the first flight out in the morning. It's the only plane guaranteed to be there that can't be impacted by a weather delay, and never stay in a franchised hotel.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, no, it's a good one.
Stay on your parents' cell phone plan as long as possible.
Oh, don't use AI instead of a search engine. Oh my God. I've seen way too many people doing this. It literally makes up information. It is, to be clear, our generative AI is not intelligent. It knows what sentences are supposed to look like, and that's it. It will complete a sentence that looks like a sentence.
Did you see the story today that, speaking of that if you call 1-800-CHAT-GPT, you can ask the AI a question over the phone?
No.
Which I told Mrs. Chief, since he teaches, that the only way students should be allowed to use AI is if they call 1-800-CHAT-GPT, because they're all petrified of talking on the phone, so it would effectively stop AI usage.
Absolutely wild.
Last thing.
Yeah.
If you're like, you see somebody that's like you want to be friends with, or you get a little older and you're like, well, this person might be my, girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. Just go talk to them, because it's very important to start getting reps in on just having conversations with new people early. And by the time you get older and you just have the ability to go up and talk to people, to call people on the phone.
Yes.
That's going to be a superpower.
Yes.
It's only going to become like more of a superpower as time goes on, in my opinion.
My freshman year of college, I lost contact with a friend of mine from high school. And so I knew her dad was a lawyer. And so I looked up his law firm and called him and asked him for his daughter's number. And I got it. So
there you go.
Come on now. You can't be afraid of talking to people.
On a similar note, too, do not be afraid or get comfortable with the idea of doing things by yourself. Like, if no one else wants to go see the movie with you, go see the movie by yourself. If no one else wants to go grab dinner, go, obviously not when you're 7, but like go sit at the bar and be comfortable having dinner by yourself. Chat up the bartender. Like, don't be weird about it, but be comfortable in spaces where you don't have the crutch of someone else to back up and fall back on. It's
when I was a bartender over at the Growler House, great little spot. Not as good as Streetside, to be clear, but a nice little spot. I was bartending there. A guy had moved from Alabama, knew absolutely nobody, bellied up to the bar. Me and him got to talking, and he was asking like some cool places to go around town. I gave him some suggestions. He loved the suggestions. He met people there, and then like a week later, he came back with people that he met at these other places, and they were like, hey, where should we go next? And all of a sudden this guy had like a friend group, and I was like their social coordinator that was like telling them ideas of what to do. And that man went from absolutely nothing to having a core group of friends, a friendly face at the bar, and everything else. It was a good time. So I appreciated being that side of it.
And whenever you do, don't start a podcast, because by the time you're old enough, there will be something better to do than start a podcast.
Absolutely.
But now there is nothing better to do. So
right.
Here we are.
Chief, you mentioned going to the movie theater. I'm curious, is there a Christmas movie that you have to watch, or else it isn't Christmas yet for you?
Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
Like I was, every fiber in my being wanted to say Die Hard, just because that's just like such the cliche. Like it's become the airline food of like,
yes.
You guys actually know Die Hard is a yeah. We get it. We've heard this bit. It's hack. Christmas Vacation though, I love it. There is so much about it though that feels very old.
Yeah.
Very, like, it got old while I wasn't paying attention. And then all of a sudden I blinked, and there are so many just wacky concepts I can't fathom existing in a movie these days. The amount of damage Clark Griswold does to his house is, it makes me physically ill. The idea of like punching holes in drywall or ripping gutters off and having to pay to fix that. I see this movie and all I think of is thousands and thousands of dollars in home repair bills. The one I saw on the Bird app this week was imagine living in a world where you are shocked, like floored. Like I can't even imagine the reality where I don't receive a Christmas bonus at my workplace.
One big enough to build a pool.
In Chicago. A pool in Chicago where you're going to get maybe, this is pre-global warming, maybe you're going to get 2 to 3 months of use out of this pool in a city like, in a climate like that.
So you talk about like the movies feeling old in certain ways, and like Christmas Vacation is one that certainly feels dated in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That like they would make different choices with some of the stuff that happens in the movie. And you just kind of have to get over it, I think. But,
right. Well, it's charming. It becomes charming at a certain point.
But I think sometimes if you are like willing to really engage with an older movie, you can kind of observe ways that it's dated, but also observe ways in that culture kind of regressed in ways. Like Miracle on 34th Street. Okay. It's a movie from the 40s, I believe.
Yes.
And there was a remake of it in the 90s. And in the original, it's dated in a lot of ways. Still, I think a classic. Still, I think one that people should absolutely watch.
You should watch at least once. The original. I'm sorry.
So it's dated in some ways, but like the fact is that there's the main character essentially is a woman who is an executive at Macy's, who lives in New York City as a single mom with a daughter played by Natalie Wood. Not once does the movie feel the need to like apologize for her being a single mom, or like it doesn't get too wrapped up in like the baggage of like oh, I'm a working mom in the 40s. It's so hot. Like it's just kind of a given, and she's a very strong character. But in the 90s remake, that same character is racked with guilt over the fact that like she's a single mom and hasn't given a father for her daughter. Yeah. And I think that's a step backward. Like it's one thing to be like, oh, it's great to like, you know, bring somebody else into the household who like loves your daughter and is a good partner to you and whatever. But
absolutely,
but the fact that like the character in the 40s movie never expressed like pressure or like guilt for her existence, but the character in the 90s movie was obsessed with it. It's not a step forward to me, really, you know?
The on a similar vein, and maybe I'm just missing like the meta joke with this, but Love Actually has a great moment of this where the prime minister's love interest is like one of the assistants at 10 Downing Street, but like a big plot point is how everybody calls her fat. And let me tell you, she is not fat, like at all.
They give her the Monica Lewinsky beret later in the movie.
They do.
That's a pretty creepy plot point. Although, like, that's the thing with like Love Actually is like, it's filled with great actors.
Yes,
it's got like beats that are very charming and funny.
It's not good.
It's not good. It's
okay.
It's
all right.
As a package,
I feel
it's a
weird
disaster.
saying it.
I think as a whole package, it's a disaster. But I think the problem with it is, especially if you're watching it for the first time, you're just like, oh, that's Alan Rickman. That's
right.
That's Hugh
this
Grant.
guy is good.
That's Colin
These actors
Firth.
are incredible.
That's Emma Thompson.
That's Keira Knightley. How did they get all these people in this movie?
It's so like manipulative at every turn, and then it has like standout moments, and like emotional tugging moments, but like it's not just, it's like, I think it's like actively harmful to like the lessons it teaches you about like humans should like relate to each other.
I do think you should recognize that, like, a lot of the people are like really bad. Like Keira Knightley's story, like she should have been horrified when the dude shows her the video. That's like serial killer shit. She'd be horrified. And her only reaction was like, I thought you didn't like me. Like, whoa, that's the wrong reaction. And then, yeah, Alan Rickman's character's a total jerk. And the lady with
I wouldn't have a problem with the Alan Rickman storyline per se.
Right.
To be honest, it's just like it's where you put the stuff and like what else is around it.
Now, allegedly, I don't know if this has ever been confirmed, but allegedly the original premise of the story, or like the original concept of the movie, was that I can only say Rowan Atkinson's character, who does pop up a couple of times in the movie, was supposed to have like more of a guardian angel type role, who was intervening to encourage events shaking out one way or the other, but they either didn't film or cut a bunch of his scenes, and it sort of lost a more consistent, plot point, basically, which probably helps contribute to some of the issues you're feeling. I love the movie. If you can't tell, I love it for all of its warts.
The famous scene that he's in, though, there's like a much funnier version of that in a Christmas Vacation.
So this is where I have to confess to you guys something. I've never seen Christmas Vacation.
That's
it's
okay.
somehow
you should watch it.
Yeah, I should. I want to. It just always gets past me.
You might hit different seeing it for the first time, like now.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
could be a Goonies situation where if you don't see the Goonies as a kid, it just doesn't mean as much. All right, here's a question then. So you haven't seen Christmas Vacation. I was gonna go, what Christmas movie haven't you seen? I think Love Actually is bad. What other Christmas movies would you put on the? It's a Christmas movie. People like this for some reason. It's not for me generously, or I think this movie is bad. I'll go first and I'll say, and I understand this is heresy and my sister hates me for this, I don't get a Christmas Story. I just fundamentally don't get it. And I get it's a boomer Christmas movie, and it's boomer coded a little bit. It's my parents' generation. I don't get it. I don't find it funny. I don't find it charming. I don't get it.
It's all right.
I like it.
So the issue with A Christmas Story, and I'm a fan. I've seen it probably hundreds of times, to be honest, because they play it for like 24
all day.
hours.
They play it all day on it.
But it's based on a book that isn't a Christmas book. It's a book of short stories from this guy's like childhood, and they cobbled together a series of short stories and centered them around a story that's about Christmas.
Interesting.
So I can kind of see, there are like, there's ways that the narrative isn't like one narrative, and it's because they're multiple stories with different focal points. I'm a fan of the movie.
I'll throw out two. Little Drummer Boy. Oh, I do not like that one. But the Jim Carrey Grinch is horrific. I don't know how anybody can defend that.
It had no reason to exist when the original is a Chuck Jones animated classic.
And it introduces way too many like weird things and like a love interest, and it's not good.
Nope. The original Grinch, I think, has all the elements you need to tell the story.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I guess I don't know. Like nothing comes to mind of a Christmas movie that a lot of people like that I don't like, but I've not thought about it. I do tend to like most of the classics. I maintain that The Muppets Christmas Carol is arguably the best version of the Christmas Carol.
That's absolutely correct.
I think so.
That's absolutely. Michael Caine deserves, I don't know what the award is, but there is something for the fact that he is playing it so deadly straight like right off the stage.
If you plucked him out of that movie and put him in a normal, straightforward adaptation of A Christmas Carol,
wouldn't change.
It wouldn't change. It would. Right. He would be he is. I think, a seminal Scrooge, but he would still be a seminal Scrooge, given that same exact performance in, any other version. Of that movie.
It's one of the most brilliant cinema performances of all time. The realization that the only way this is going to work is if I am playing this deadly serious and let everyone else be goofy around me. And it works to a level that is shocking how good that movie is.
It's also pretty accurate to set aside the whole Muppetsness of it, but they faithfully retell the story. It's nice. They didn't take too many liberties.
They managed to put songs in. It's still pretty breezy.
Yeah.
You know what I do love about Christmas media is that I really appreciate and I love that it is the only holiday where, and I'm happy this has been revived a little bit too, this tradition. The concept of the holiday special is something that I love. All those Rankin and Bass movies from back in the day, fantastic. They still hold up. The soundtrack is arguably one of the worst things ever committed to recording, but A Charlie Brown Christmas, classic. And no matter what it is, there are so many just fantastic Christmas specials that have existed over the course of the years, and some wild misses too. See the Star Wars holiday special. But I love that tradition. I love the fact that they did one for the Guardians of the Galaxy a couple years ago. That was just fantastic.
There's a Lego Star Wars holiday special as
also very funny, very well done. And I'm happy that the celebrity holiday specials are back too. Sabrina Carpenter just did one that I watched that is shockingly entertaining. Very, very well done. I love everything about that. And I love that tradition of hell with it. We're not going to make a full movie. We're going to do 35 or 40 good quality minutes, get in there, an hour plus commercials, and we're just going to have some fun with it. Rudolph, Frosty, all that sort of stuff. Here for it the entire time.
It is so good. Hey, let's just keep rolling with a Patreon question here. Caitlin Hardy asks, what is your preferred cocktail for getting through the holidays? Do either of you have a go-to holiday cocktail?
If someone's actually making cocktails, I'm a big fan of a Negroni at Christmas. Dark liquor. I would also do a Manhattan at Christmas. I would enjoy that as well. My father-in-law makes bourbon slushes, apparently on the West Side tradition of that. That's a quality holiday drink. Absent that, Christmas beer, Christmas ale, spiced ales.
Yeah.
One or two of them, fantastic. Any more, you're asking for a bad time the next day.
Yes.
But in moderation, the holiday ale is truly an elite drink.
Chief, similar note, could I interest you in a Boothby? This is my go-to holiday drink. It is basically a Manhattan with sparkling wine, or a champagne if you can. You put a champagne float on it, and that's it. It's just a little bigger glass. It's got a little bubbly to it, and it's
I'm into it.
It's a Manhattan with bubbles. It's nice.
It sounds
Feels
great.
festive.
I think booze is that is one of the things they don't tell you about as a kid, is that booze makes the holidays better. It just does. And if you're not a drinking type person, that's cool. It's a choice you've made. I respect that choice. The holidays with a cocktail, better.
It's nice. Yeah, Grayson, do you have a go-to drink? I feel like you'd have a...
I don't have a go-to, although there were a couple years where
natural wine.
We aged eggnog.
Ooh.
For basically made it around Christmas and kept it till the following Christmas, and it makes a difference.
Yeah.
You can only have a little bit of it 'cause it's kind of heavy and also extremely boozy.
Not an eggnog person. Never have been.
I'm not generally either, but when we made the years that we've actually aged the eggnog for a long time, that has been worth it. I'm just generally not gonna do that.
Yeah. The eggnog that comes in the Kroger half gallon carton, my daughter's obsessed with. So she is all about that.
Here's a Christmas cocktail. Go to Colonel D's, get the apple cider mulling spices.
Yeah.
And
mull some wine?
No, mull some, like, spice some cider. And put your drink of choice in there.
Yeah.
I do like a hot drink at Christmas too. I feel like we don't do hot drinks often enough. They're more work. I get that. That's annoying, but a good hot drink at Christmas, it really is. It can be a game changer, especially as a nightcap when you've been wrapping presents or doing something. I always laugh because I was thinking about the bourbon slushes my father-in-law makes. I remember my first interaction or my first introduction to the big extended family Christmas was when I got married and to my in-laws. And I was introduced to the concept of, so my wife's grandfather was still alive at the time, just cool dude. He would keep conning grandkids into getting him a refill after his wife had said, "You got to be cut off now." And she would tell people he's cut off, but until she told every single person he's cut off, he would find the person who hadn't been informed he was cut off and get them to go give him a refill, which I thought was just,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, and it was smart. It was a smooth move. Then they had this tradition as well where, are you guys familiar with Mitch Miller?
No.
Have you heard about this?
It rings a bell.
Okay. So Mitch Miller was this dude who, the best way I can describe him is he kind of looks like the Master from the 70s Doctor Who, which is a really niche reference. But what he would do is he was kind of like the Disney sing-along guy before they had the bouncing ball videos. And so he would have a choir that would sing Christmas standards, and you would buy his album and it would come with sheet music so that everybody could have sheet music to sing along and sing and carol with along with the record. And so my wife's grandfather had all these old Mitch Miller albums, and it was always a tradition that someone would have to go down while drunk into the basement, get the Mitch Miller albums out, bring them up, throw them on the record player, and then all of a sudden I'm leading the sing-along of an entire family that isn't my own, caroling away drunkenly to holiday classics.
It's pretty good.
That sounds incredible.
The one year, my wife's cousin and I we got a little heavy on the bourbon slushes, and while looking for the Mitch Miller records, instead found Bill Cosby comedy albums and brought those up instead. Well after no one should have been listening to Bill Cosby.
Yeah. We'll edit that in post to put somebody like Louis C.K.
Yeah, somebody uncontroversial.
Are we done with Christmas movies? Because I do have a plug.
Ooh, please. No, just go for it.
Are we going to get back on that topic?
We're on it now.
I don't have a good one, so go for it.
Okay. So I'm not good at like coming up with like top 5 or 10 lists or whatever off the top of my head.
Okay.
But there's 3 Barbara Stanwyck movies that I think everybody should watch.
Okay.
One is Christmas in Connecticut. Probably the one of these 3 most that would be most seen. It's about a woman she's a single woman who lives in New York City. She writes a column under a fake persona where she's like a homemaker that lives on a farm in Connecticut with her baby and husband. And there's a war hero who wants to like meet her and have like a home cooked Christmas dinner. So they have to like stage this whole thing of her like going up to, because her boss also doesn't know that she doesn't actually live on a farm in Connecticut. And so it's kind of a screwball comedy. The other one is Remember the Night, which has an extremely bizarre premise. She gets arrested for shoplifting a necklace before Christmas, and her trial doesn't get done before Christmas, and the prosecutor like checks her out of, he finds out that she doesn't have like family or something. he checks her out of jail and drives her with him to Indiana, where he's going for his family Christmas. It's an insane
this movie. It's
insane.
Can prosecutors just do that? Can you just check someone out of jail like a library book?
I'm told no, but now I'm curious.
It's a crazy premise, but it's a very very funny movie. And the third one people should watch is called Meet John Doe, where it's an older movie. It's in the Depression, and she plays a journalist who, to sell papers, comes up with this idea to write like a fake, like, man of the people, angry populist John Doe guy, and it really takes off. And they have to like so they decide they have to like find a guy to like pretend to be this John Doe, and they find like Gary Cooper, who plays this like hobo who had like washed out of minor league baseball.
What?
Yeah, it's a Frank Capra. That one's a Frank Capra.
Okay.
But I love these movies. I think Barbara Stanwyck is so funny. She makes the best faces. And I think everybody should watch these three movies. Again, it's Christmas in Connecticut, Remember the Night, and Meet John Doe.
Meet John Doe.
And if you're looking for something else after all that, I highly recommend finding a YouTube of Mystery Science Theater 3000 watching Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, which is also just a classic.
Which I believe on the DVD set was the B-side to Manos, The Hand of Fate.
Yes. So you know what? Just order that. You can probably have it shipped to you before Christmas comes.
I have not laughed harder than the Mystery Science 3000 Manos, The Hands of Fate. By far the worst movie ever made. We got a question here from Kyle Lukel, who asks, what is the best Christmas or other holiday gift you have ever given somebody? I like this question. What's the best one you've ever given to somebody?
Given?
So I don't know if this is the best, but this one I was really proud of. My parents were very much products of the 1980s when they met and were dating. They would go to arcades, and my mom, apparently on her lunch break back in this time, was an avid Ms. Pac-Man fan, like diehard Ms. Pac-Man fan, could not get enough of it. I have so many memories of going on family vacations where we would find in like the hotel's little throwaway quote unquote arcade, there'd be a random Ms. Pac-Man machine, and like that's where my family would be for like 2 hours as my parents just gave away quarters. So a couple of years ago, got my parents a Ms. Pac-Man machine that lives in the basement now, and they play it all the time, and I have the high score on it, so feels pretty good. So yeah, I think that one would be pretty high up the list of best Christmas presents. I was pretty proud of that one.
I've had a couple good ones. I know my worst Christmas present was of all time. I went and I bought my dad this is when I was beyond broke in college. I bought my dad a Ohio University jacket at Steve & Barry's, if you remember that place, where everything was $5.99. Like the cheapest, most awful looking pleather coat with Ohio University on the back of it. And I thought I was being sly, like, oh, this looks like a really nice gift. He's never going to know that this was from the store where everything is under $7. Because I was so beyond broke. I remember the first nice Christmas gift I ever bought my sister. She was a big Harry Potter fan. And I found this really, really cool, like, framed artwork of someone reimagining the cover of the first Harry Potter book, or like some artwork piece of that. And like, it was the first time I remember spending real money on a gift for one of my family members, where I'm sure now it was like, $50, $60, but back then it was like we're setting ourselves back a little bit. So that was fun to give, just because she really she liked that a lot, I think. And it hung in her room for a really long time. I'm excited. He's not listening, so he's not going to know about this. I'm getting my dad. I'm getting my dad tickets to the New York Rangers up in Columbus this year.
Nice.
He was a Rangers season ticket holder at one point in his life, and so I'm taking him tickets to an NHL game, which I'm really looking forward to.
I like that.
I'm trying to, especially with my parents, or with my dad, and with my wife's parents, that once people get to a certain age, they don't want more stuff. So just trying to get them things that they can do and things they can have fun with, things they can actually, experience, I guess. It's tough, but I think that's probably the better way to go with, once your parents reach a certain age.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten more experiential focused. And then I'm not great at the on the moment. Look, I'm an artist. Okay, we've said this many times. I can't choose when inspiration is going to strike.
Right.
So if you tell me I have to have a gift for somebody on December 25th, it's probably not going to be the best gift you've ever seen. I am pretty good at spontaneity, at just unexpected,
that's cool.
things, throughout the year, big and small. So yeah.
So maybe your gift is a sort of voucher that you will get something within this price range over the next 12 months when I come across something that makes a lot of sense for me to get this for you. But I don't have anything for you right now.
It's not there for me right now. I don't have that for you.
I will, in my travels, I will come across something that I will speak to me, but it's not right here.
Although somebody, who I'm not going to name because they might be listening to this podcast, is going to be getting Bayern Munich Club World Cup tickets.
You shouldn't have.
I have a Patreon question here, Grayson. It's from KP, who asks, my family likes gifting experiences for Christmas. Are there places you would recommend for this, or events you would recommend going to?
So for parents, we got my parents a tablespoon.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Gift card.
We did that for my parents too. For my dad
said we'll all do this together.
I don't know what this is. Explain.
That was a big hit. So it's next to Family Market. They do cooking classes.
Oh yeah.
And they do all types of things. I think that one was chicken piccata and something else. I forget what. But another time we've done, one class was tiramisu and cannoli. That was pretty awesome. So that's a really fun experience to do with family, especially when it's family that maybe you don't see all the time. And it's well, now we get to part of the gift is we're all going to do this together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing that's nice about the tablespoon too is that part of the difficulty with doing experiential gifts and doing experience gifts is that you got to know you're giving someone else plans, and you got to know that they're I had to hint around and make sure my dad is, free on the weekend that I'm getting him tickets for, and that's going to be a thing. With Tablespoon, you buy them the voucher for it or the gift card for it, and then you can schedule it for one. It's actually kind of hard to schedule. They book up pretty quick, even if you have a gift card for it.
They've gotten. I think they've added a few more classes.
Oh, that's good.
I found that it's a bit easier to find something that you can get into. But I think that they release them a month ahead, so the whole month gets released on the same day. And it did used to be where if you waited a few hours after they released,
you're done.
They'd be mostly gone.
Yeah.
So I did that. We've done that for 2 family members, and both family members have really liked the Tablespoon. I am always a big fan of giving people a night out where it's a specific type of night out. So tickets to a show especially something down at the Aronoff. If you're not like season pass holders for the Broadway on tour stuff, tickets to the Aronoff and a gift card to get dinner somewhere downtown. And if you don't want to go full, the Jeff Ruby experience, you can do to like, Taqueria Mercado or to Nicholson's or to some place that's in walking distance around the Aronoff, or even Arnold's isn't too far of a walk, and you'll have a good time there. I love a guided tour of things. So
this is where I was gonna go. Yeah,
like doing something where you can give someone a guided tour experience. Like Kevin, you used to work at the Sign Museum.
it's a good experience.
Something like that, or giving them something where like they can go and they can learn about something. It's all about knowing too a little bit about like who the person is and what kind of things they're into doing.
Yeah.
If they're a sports fan, there's different types of experiences you can give them surrounding sports, whether it's, maybe you level up the type of ticket that they would otherwise buy themselves to go to a game. For the Reds, they've got the Handlebar, which is up on the first base sidelines down the pole, where there's drink tickets included. It's a different vantage point to watch a ball game.
Yeah.
For the FC, if they usually are Bailey ticket holders, maybe you spring a little bit extra for like Cincinnati's club or First Financial Club, or even one of the all-inclusive clubs. If they're Bengals fans, get them a club seat or something like that. I think there are ways to have fun with that. There are ways to do that where you don't have to give them something they don't already do. It's something they don't already do. You give them a better version of something they like that they would never otherwise treat themselves for.
Yeah.
In 2012, I got my dad like a voucher plan for the Reds. So I don't even know if they still do this, but it was like you bought like it was like the lowest rung of what they considered to be like a season ticket package, but you just bought like vouchers, and each one was just good for a ticket.
Oh, nice.
And I think it was like 40 or something. So you could go like by yourself to like 40 games, or you could go with one other person to 20 games. So you could go with 4 people to 10 games, right? And I think that worked out pretty well. Plus the Reds were good that year, and it qualified us for playoff ticket windows.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, the Reds have done this in the past. I don't know 100% what they offer now. I haven't looked, but used to do like a behind the scenes tour option where you get to go into the locker room and see some of the stuff. Usually got admission to the Reds Hall of Fame when you bought one of those, so that was cool. The coolest behind the scenes tour I got to go on was the Cincinnati Museum Center. And like, if you know somebody who likes that or is even a member, it's not a guarantee that they've done some cool behind the scenes stuff. Like I got to go walk up to like where the clock is on the front of the building, like on the backside, but some really, really cool areas of the museum I had never been to, and got to learn the stories and stuff.
They do that with the zoo too. There are certain zoo things that you can do, and there's a couple, like depending on what your price point is, there's a couple of really cool after hours, late night Cincinnati Zoo type things that you can do that are a blast. I've been told. I
don't know if they're still doing it, but as I understand it, this is to give the listeners some ideas. There's Rookwood was doing candle making. Brooke and Potter was doing candle making classes recently for the holidays. I know some folks who went to that and had a good time. And then I recently I hadn't done one of these in like years, but I recently did an escape room with a bunch of my family members, like right after Thanksgiving. And that was a fun thing.
Do they still do that? They still have some place where they do that Cheers to Art thing. Do you remember that was popular about 10 to 15 years ago?
That seems to still be a thing.
I feel like I've seen maybe
that in a lot
Madeira,
of cities.
maybe something like that. I think it's the last one that's left. But that was always a fun thing too. You get everybody together, you do a night painting, you drink some drinks. That was a fun thing. Other thing, and this is a life pro tip, life pro hack right here, that if there is something you want to do yourself, there is rarely a better time to buy than right now. And my buddy Eric is big into this and got me into this, and that's that many places that you might like to frequent offer a deal on buying gift cards right now.
Like Ruby's often does.
Ruby's, yeah.
Yes.
Ruby's, it's like, I think you get 20% off right now or 25% off. And so if you're planning on going to Ruby's anytime in the next year or whenever,
or ever, because I think they legally can't expire.
Yeah, in Ohio, you're not allowed to expire anymore. Just you're more likely to misplace them than anything else.
Yes.
But go ahead and go pay for your meal right now and get 20% off, and just keep them someplace you know. Mad Tree, no free plugs, not as good as Street Side, obviously, but I know for a fact because we did the same thing. You can buy their gift cards and they'll do the same thing. There'll be a discount on your gift card purchases, and then just use them yourself when you go to places.
Yes. Yeah. Or, I've always liked the trick of buying the gift card before you go somewhere at Kroger. So you get the 4X fuel points if you're into min-maxing yourself there. So yeah, some good stuff there. We got a funny question here that is sort of the opposite of the Christmas season, but I really enjoy the question. And of course, I scrolled away from it. Okay, here it is. From Jay Walbrink, who asks, what non-political, that is a key distinction here, what non-political question or topic would you bring up at your family Christmas celebration to send discussions into a frenzy?
Well, I mean, there's a whole book of them that Kevin can offer you, I believe.
Would you murder a solitary innocent person to end world hunger as my go-to?
Does the Kennedy assassination count as political? It probably does.
No. I don't think. I think enough time has passed. I think it's just sort of like a thing. It's a historical.
That will send people at my extended family holiday a bit nutty. But I do have one. Find up some reason to bring up the topic of like the benefits or lack thereof of holding the holiday party at somebody's house versus another person's house.
Oh, that's good.
I like that a lot.
That's really good.
All right, so it's going to cause a fight. I like that. I think on the subject of Kennedy assassination, what a great transition.
Yeah.
Just everybody go around the room. What's your favorite conspiracy theory, or what conspiracy theory do you believe is true?
Or play two truths and a lie with conspiracy theories. So
right.
Like, I believe one of these three.
Right. Yeah, like, what's up with those drones in New Jersey? Or no, it's like, the two truths and a lie conspiracy. Nixon was ousted by a CIA coup. The aliens at Roswell are real. And Stevie Wonder actually can see.
Those are good. Those are good ones.
Those are fun. What's your conspiracy theory of choice? That always gets people wagging, as long as it doesn't as long as you don't let Uncle, the uncle talking about the jab. Everything will be all right with that conversation. Keep it apolitical. Kevin Denke, is he going to break the goal scoring the Golden Boot record here for MLS? Will he get to 25 or 30 goals? I don't know about that.
He's promising 35.
You know what? What's a great topic here, and this can lead to a lot of fun with your older family members, is just start talking about AI. Are the robots coming to kill us? And bonus points if you can queue up on command. When you go on to YouTube now or to certain places, there is an unbelievable amount of AI generated content, specifically songs. And some of them are very, very funny and very, very inappropriate. And when you start playing AI generated music for people, it can get to a lot. You can get the conversation, especially after a couple of drinks have happened. You can get people opening up about how the computers are going to take over everything. And that's always a good time.
I like that a lot. What would drive my family nuts is me asking my grandma if we're allowed to drink at this party. I tried that once. It did not go well.
What about you just throw an episode of the PostCast on? Just listen as a family.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so the presence or lack thereof of alcohol can be something to set people off. The problem is like everything is political because I would be like, oh, like Caitlin. I'm sure there were tons of stuff about Caitlin Clark, FC Cincinnati business associate.
Oh yeah,
Caitlin Clark, but that also feels like an extension of the political.
Yeah, kind of has to be. I don't know
what, like just everybody throw a hot take out there and let's fight about it. I think that's fun. Greatest of all time in sports that always plays.
I've got one that always drives me nuts. Maybe I've already talked about this before. I talked about this recently, so I apologize if I mentioned this on the podcast. So I went to the University of Cincinnati. The football team was really good when I was in school, and for that, I'll always be a big fan of the school, and then obviously a close association with the football team. Most people consider it a basketball school. That's fine. I have a cousin who never went to college, and that's fine, totally acceptable. Lives a very happy, fulfilling life.
Probably Ohio State fan.
Is an adopted Ohio State fan and would talk shit about UC. I'm just like, hey man, I went there. What do you want me to say?
We always say the best Ohio State fans are the ones who didn't go to the school.
Just like
that's pretty well known.
We're doing pretty good from where we are, okay?
If you are in a Catholic family, Mount Rushmore of Catholic songs that you hear at Mass. That'll get the conversation going right there. People have some takes. You'd be amazed how many people in your family have takes about what the music is at Mass.
Should there be more or less Latin?
Right. You can ask your older family members.
Nobody who grew up Catholic has a very strong opinion on that, Kevin. It's all the converts. All the converts coming in and being like, "Oh, you guys should be doing this in Latin." Well, why did you freaking convert, man?
Right. Like
you picked this,
right?
Like converts are walking in and they're like, "Well, it should all be in Latin and the Pope's not real." And like, you were already Protestant.
Right. You knew what you were signing up for, man. Like,
get out
of
here.
The Orthodox Church is across the street.
God, you weirdos ruin everything.
And then you ask these people what they think about immigration, and they have the opposite view.
You can also, on the subject of Catholic talk, you can also get your parents and your parents' generation going for an extended amount of time, especially on the West Side, by asking them to remember which priest said the Mass the quickest and who are the best, who are the best priests to go to if you needed to get in and out of Mass in under 45 minutes.
I always used to argue with my parents about, so if Christmas on a Sunday, we had to go to midnight Mass and we had to go to Sunday Mass.
Oh. Wait, you said that?
No, I used to argue with my parents that we already went this week.
The obligation is fulfilled.
Oh, brother. Like if you went to Catholic school growing up, it was Mass on Friday, Mass on Sunday. Like 2 Masses in a week. That was dude, that's standing on my head.
For my Protestants, to get the family going, ask some of the older folks, how's that new woman pastor? That's always good. They love that.
That'd be great. Yeah, I love that. Should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? That always gets people going too.
That's good.
I used to date in college. I dated a Lutheran girl, and her parents went to Missouri Synod, and she went to ELCA. And that was it never like boiled over because they were good like UP Protestants. Like they would not like be screaming at each other because they're not comfortable with emotional not comfortable enough with like emotional showings like that. But like you could tell like the tension was like palpable.
Yeah. You know, I always appreciated his music. I just never understood why anyone would make a religion about Luther Vandross. Just never really sat right with me.
A so-so Christmas album, by the way, from Luther.
Right. But I mean, good for him that he's got a religion going. That's him and Elron, 20th century religious people. What do Scientologists do for Christmas? Do we know that? Do they celebrate Christmas?
Surely
Probably
not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like cultural. It's like I guess I just assume people do like cultural Christmas.
I'll say Jehovah's Witnesses do not.
I know. I knew a guy. I went to college with a guy who grew up Jehovah's Witness, and like it was like a constant like struggle. Like he was like internally torn between like what he should be doing and what he shouldn't be doing. It was honestly seemed like not like a pleasant psychological experience. And I hope he's, kind of found how he wants to be.
You don't wish him a Merry Christmas. You just wish him a knock knock.
But like I knew, because growing up like in Ohio, right? Like it's a very pro-Christmas environment, Christmas rich environment.
Yeah.
So like I knew like Jewish families that would like put up Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
Right. Just because it's like they wouldn't put up like Jesus or like a creche or something, but like they would put up like lights.
Yeah. You decorate your house a little bit for the season. Sure.
Yeah. Just fit. You don't want to fit in the neighborhood. You don't want the other house to have better Christmas lights than you, even if you don't believe in Christmas. That's just a failing at that part. You know what's funny about so I thought about this in a while. We used to, even though we were a fully Catholic family, we used to go out to dinner on Christmas Eve and get Chinese food.
That's nice.
It's fantastic.
Chinese food is good.
It's fantastic. No, it was the best. We used to go to the old Pacific Moon over in on Kenwood, in Montgomery, by the old Go Bananas over there. It was great. We were probably the only Gentiles in the restaurant. It was fantastic.
Chief, I'm gonna get the day wrong. Is it Christmas Day? Is a big movie theater day?
Oh my God! Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
I worked
at the movie theater.
So there were multiple years where I was working in the movie theater where I got scheduled to work Christmas morning.
Ooh.
And so my buddy Dan and I, we had this thing going for a couple of years where we would bring one present that our parents got us from home to the theater, and we would wait until the doors opened to let like people in, because there would be people waiting for the doors to open to the movie theater.
Wow.
And they would walk in, and then as they were walking in, we would start opening our presents and then tell the people, sorry, we didn't get a Christmas morning this morning, so this is us just exchanging our gifts with one another.
Oh no.
When I worked in the movie theater, there were like 6 holidays in the season. There was like Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve and Christmas, and New Year's Eve and New Year's. And you had to work.
Yeah.
I think at least you had to work like 3 or 4 days of those 6. I forget what exactly it was, but you had to like block off like these are the days I'm not going to work.
Yeah. So I worked at the movie theater. I worked at a movie theater in college. And so I worked during the summer times, and I figured it out that if I came back over Christmas break from school and worked over Christmas break, they kept me in the computer when I said, oh, I'll come back and work Christmas, because they always needed more people to work on Christmas. And so if I said I'll be back for Christmas, they were thrilled, because that was like one less person they would have to worry about hiring as like a seasonal employee, because like their hiring drops off a cliff during the school year because people can't work.
Right.
And so by virtue of doing that, they left me in the system. Just I wasn't being scheduled while I was at school. And I was qualifying for automatic raises, because you got like an automatic raise by the theater every 6 months. So I worked there every year I was in college. I even worked at the theater in the summer after my first year of law school. And by the time I left to like get like an actual like legal job, and this is back before minimum wage was that high, I was making damn near $16 an hour working at the movie theater, because I just kept qualifying for these like raises every 6 months, even though I wasn't working there.
Oh my God. I just saw a video of a local town like debating dropping their like the town's attorney's hourly rate from $200 an hour to $15 an hour. And just in talking about that, he got up and quit. So
I mean, most lawyers that I know would quit at $200 an hour.
So $16 an hour, you could have been making more than this guy.
Fries in the bag, sir.
I have a really good working on Christmas story. I used to work environmental services at a hospital, which is to say janitorial services. Has some wild stories with that. But of course, just like you guys described, there were certain holidays that you sort of had to work or were in rotation to work. So yeah, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, absolutely. But on Christmas in particular, it's not very busy. You know, a lot of people don't want to be in the hospital. It's amazing how much the emergency room doesn't have people on Christmas. Like, people avoid the emergency room that day. So there's not a whole lot going on. So it's a good opportunity to clean things that don't always get all that dirty, but then cleaned, deep cleaned as often. And so Christmas Day was a good time to clean the morgue in the hospital. So yeah, I got to do that one Christmas. So that was fun. So do not recommend. It's super creepy and very weird. And yes, there were bodies in there. So
it's a fun story in hindsight because he's alive. But there was one Christmas, my dad had a heart attack on Christmas Eve, and we actually spent Christmas in the ICU. It was horrendous. And the worst part is that he was fine. Like, it was one where it wasn't like, oh my God, is he gonna make it? It was, he got there in time. They did what they had to do, and he was okay. He was just under observation for a couple of days. And so I got sick of eating hospital food hanging out up there. And so my sister and I went down to Shanghai Mama's downtown, because he got it on Christmas Eve. And so by Christmas Day night, I was like, we need to get some real food. Nobody's cooking, because my mom was up there with him the entire time.
Right.
And there was only a limited number of people allowed back in the ICU. So we were just kind of chilling in this waiting room. So the two of us drove downtown to get Chinese food. And then we were like, you can't tell Dad about this, because he doesn't want to be here either. And they're damn sure not going to let him eat, General Tso's chicken right after his ticker almost exploded. So yeah, I'll see you one. I've also been in the hospital on Christmas.
Work in the emergency room on Christmas is rough.
It's not a great place to be in terms of having yourself a merry little Christmas.
No.
Happy ending to the story, though, so that's always good.
That is good. I've got one last question here for us, and we can wrap this up. This is not a Christmas question explicitly, but I think it matches the vibe here well. Patrick Lonnie asks us, reflecting on 2024, what was your favorite episode of the year? The spirit of the question is geared towards what we get to hear. However, I'd let you expand that to include behind the scenes reasons involved in the production of an episode. He said, this is probably like picking your favorite child, which should be easy.
Well, you're the host, Kevin. What was your favorite episode to do this year?
Gosh, that's some good ones. The first one that springs to mind is the Yuya Kubo episode. Yeah. Getting a actual player on the team, through the team, and a player that we have not gotten to speak to very often. Not
a lot of people have gotten to speak to very often, not just us.
And if you want some behind the scenes here, FC Cincinnati likes to as they should, have a sort of publicist sit in on the interview. Makes sense. I would absolutely babysit us. I was sent a photo afterwards of an alarming number of staff people sitting in on that interview, all sort of behind one Zoom faceless camera off entity. So very funny that there was a lot of interest from the team, as it were, on that one. So that was a good one. I enjoyed
that episode a lot. That was cool. And it was cool. I was worried Yuya wasn't going to match the vibe I had in my mind for him, and he perfectly equaled or exceeded the vibe I was expecting out of Yuya. That was really, really neat.
The Ku Bowl has lived on in a way that I never thought it would, so that's been great.
Grayson, what do you got?
What do you got for us?
Well, it's hard to pick an episode because I typically just kind of go into like a stasis for the duration of the episode and then immediately forget anything that we did. It's kind of a severance situation. But I guess I'd be remiss if I'll plug two.
Okay.
One is the Roman Celentano interview, because I think that was the first time we had gotten a player through the team.
Yes.
And then I was just like very nervous about how it was gonna go. Like and I thought it went great. Like I thought Roman was very fun to have on. And then I would also be remiss if I didn't mention the D&D episode. Because it took us, I don't blame anybody who didn't listen to it. One, it's super long.
Yes.
Right. And two, we were frankly like not very good at the beginning.
Yes.
Because I think it took a while to just kind of feel out like I had no experience with D&D or anything similar before. So there's like getting comfortable with the rules and then like trying to figure out how you combine the gameplay with also telling the story. And we definitely wouldn't have gotten through it without Sarah.
Yes.
Oh God, no.
I feel bad because there were so many funny things that she had put in.
Oh my God.
That we just straight up missed.
Yes.
Early in the show. Like we just straight up missed, like we should have been calling out stuff that she had put in. Like the party that we fought.
The bandits were all like Nashville players.
The bandits were all Nashville players.
It was Walker Zimmerman and somebody else.
It was their names backwards. It was Reclaw.
Reclaw. It was Walker
Zad,
backwards. Yeah.
And I think we never got, Mukhtar's name.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, one was Dax McCarty. It was Hanny Mukhtar, and then Walker Zimmerman. But all their names were reversed.
Yeah, and their names were reversed, and we just didn't get there because I think we just weren't like alert yet to like really how to do it. But I think we got there. Like I think the last half of it is very fun. It just takes a while.
The first half was not great at all. Because I wanted this episode to work because I don't have a lot of experience with playing Dungeons and Dragons. I've listened to a couple podcasts do it.
Yeah.
And it's good content. Like when Pardon My Take did it, it's one of the hardest I've ever laughed. But also like sitting there trying to make it good content and being hyper aware of like, this isn't just about me having fun playing Dungeons and Dragons. Right. It also has to be good radio too. Like I'm hyper aware of trying to make things good. That like I missed the forest for the trees on a lot of the stuff.
On that point, you want some behind the scenes. I packed a whole bunch of gear and then straight up forgot to bring all of the microphones.
That's right.
That was hilarious. And then the only reason we were able to record was I had spent most of the summer doing video production work for a very time intensive and very failed project. And I just happened to have in my car a two wireless mic setup. So Grayson and I were mic'd up with lav mics like we were going to do an interview, but like not set up for that. We were both wearing t-shirts, and famously lav mics do not work well on people that are just wearing t-shirts.
And then me and Sarah had traditional microphones. Very funny.
I want to try that again. And my pledge is if we do that again, it'll be way better because I'll know what the hell I'm doing now. And I think that we'll have a lot more fun with it the next go around.
Sarah had reminded me, we still have a mysterious key or two that we stole off of somebody's body that we do need to figure out.
No idea. And then we like got lucky and stole the right like orb.
And all of them were like hilarious references that we completely missed.
Yep.
That we just, if we would have watched all these videos, they were hilarious, apparently.
It was very funny references. Like the amount of like kind of MLS and FC and Cincinnati lore that was like built into that was, man, it was such.
I want to go do it again. I want to go back and redo that.
I gotta like, Sarah did such a good job of it.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because I feel like we didn't live up to it. You know, definitely for a good chunk of the episode. But you know, I appreciate the people who have listened all the way through, because I do think ultimately it is, you know, pretty rewarding if you just want to like have a good time and you're just screwing around. But I understand why people would have turned it off early.
Yeah. Well, let's do it again, but let's set some ground rules. Number one, let's actually like reread some rules to remember what we're doing when we walk in, and let's figure out a time we can do it like on a weekend where it's like we're not, because we recorded that on a school night, which is tough for a lot of people. We would have to figure out like a Saturday or a Friday night to do that. I think I think it would be better content if we could do it that way.
So another episode that I want to highlight, because this sort of came to me way later. We did an episode after a pretty brutal loss. It was episode 208, I want to say. It was the loss to Orlando. And the title of the episode, the timestamps of the episode, the description of the episode would lead you to believe that you were about to sit down and listen to an FC Cincinnati podcast. And what you got was 100% not an FC Cincinnati podcast. And what was very funny about that episode is we had a sort of like running joke, or the idea of a joke going into it, which was, hey, let's take a long time to acknowledge the loss. And after about 10 or 15 minutes into the episode, Grayson just threw into the chat, let's never mention the game. And that was the only communication we had of it. And we recorded a full, hour and a half, 2 hour episode of just not mentioning the game. We talk about the Bengals, the Reds, Cincinnati stuff. And I'll say all of the feedback that I received and that we received was very positive. The Discord thought it was very funny. I heard from people who probably shouldn't be publicly saying that they listen to the podcast, reach out and say, hey, that was really funny. You guys nailed that. That was really good. So it got a lot of props. And I thought, oh my God, we escaped that without any criticism. However, I kind of forgot that our episodes auto-publish to YouTube until recently, when I accidentally uploaded just the advertisements that I was using at the beginning of the episode instead of the full-length episode. And so in trying to get that re-uploaded to YouTube, I signed back into our YouTube Studio account, and I saw, oh shit, people leave comments on the YouTube video. Never thought to read these. And so I just want to read this one to you. This is on episode 208, the aforementioned Orlando City loss episode. They say, guys, I say this as someone who listens to every episode and love and supports the show. This was the worst episode by far of the PostCast. Someone correct me, but I didn't hear anything about FC Cincinnati the entire time. The title and preamble promise it, and I got nothing. No discussion on lineups or the mistakes or results or playoff picture. I get tangents and all a part of the fun and charm, but you completely lost me as someone who has zero clue about the NFL, spending roughly 30 minutes talking about it. I guess if you wanted a simulation for me of how my girlfriend feels when I ramble about FCC, mission accomplished, because I have zero context for the names and events you were discussing. Again, love the show, but most times with this was just awful. Hope the next episode discusses FC Cincinnati. It has 4 thumbs up.
If that's you, if that's you, come forward in the Discord. I'm going to pay for your Patreon membership for some portion of 2025.
We can gift Patreons, so you have a gifted Patreon.
You know what? That's individual. Our Gold Star shining moment of the week right there.
Yes, actually, that's it.
So now you gotta come forward and claim your gift card.
Yeah, you come forward and claim your gift card. That's that's on you. You gotta find some way to identify yourself there.
Like I said, I thought we got away with it.
We would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for these meddling commenters.
I am hearting that episode or that comment. That's what you get there.
I don't got a lot to add to this in terms of favorite episodes. The only thing that I'll throw out there, we've talked about it before. I loved our live episode at Streetside at the start of the year.
Needs to be mentioned.
That was a blast. I know the audio sucked because we'd never done a live show before. And quite frankly, we also didn't expect that many people to show up, which was...
Yeah.
I was, worried that it was just going to be the three of us there and like maybe my wife.
And
it turned out, it turned out a couple more people showed up, and that was really, really cool. And that was a fun episode. I don't know if it translates listening back to it, but it was a really cool moment for the show. It was our first time doing something like that, and I don't know. I was your boy was a little choked up there, seeing a big like walking into the room and like everybody was there, and it was like, oh, they're here to watch the match. It was like, no, a lot of these people are here to see the show, and that was kind of cool.
To see the Shield, which was fun.
To see the Shield too, which eventually showed up as well. And God damn it, if it wasn't fun to watch Rebel Moon and review that with y'all. I'm lying. Rebel Moon was terrible.
No, Rebel Moon was rough. I don't know exactly what year it happened, but the FIFA movie and Last Action Hero were really fun to go back and watch.
That was like Last Action Hero was last off season, I think.
Last December. It was one of the first things we did after we got dumped out of the playoffs, so I want to remember correctly.
That's what it was. Okay. I couldn't remember if we did those in January by chance. Well, there you go.
Well, here you go. Here's another episode you can thumbs down because we didn't talk any FC Cincinnati.
Sorry, dude.
Right as we did that.
Well, fine. What is one gift that you would give to the team or anybody associated with the team this Christmas?
The best gift you can give to anyone. Cold hard cash. Give me like
3 million
in GAM.
You're welcome, Chris Albright.
Don't spend it all in one place.
A good FC Cincinnati gift. A new pitch. Just top of the line, hybrid, heated pitch.
Love a good pitch. Lucho Acosta to be cloned in a Star Trek style transporter accident, and this version of him wants to stay in Cincinnati.
Any chance you could take a couple of years off of him while you're at it?
Pull the old Thomas Riker right here and see if we can do it.
Grayson, what would you give to the FC?
I would give one Nick Hagland.
Aww.
They might gift that to themselves, though. We'll see how the next couple of weeks go.
Well, usually people ask me what I want. I ask for something that I was already going to buy for myself.
It would be really funny to announce Nick on Christmas Day and them like unwrapping him as a present.
Or Nick, dressed up like Baby New Year.
That seems like honestly like kind of a classic Nick Hagland Instagram activity.
Yes.
I'm into it.
Good stuff.
Well, I guess Merry Christmas, guys.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And yeah, thanks for listening. I don't think we say it enough, but yeah, it's pretty cool that people listen, and I'm glad we built a fun little community over on Discord, on the various social apps. Apparently on YouTube, we're not as well received, but we're trying our best here. And I've always happy with what we have built here, and hopefully we continue it. We continue to build it out, and onwards and upwards.
I remember our bad review on Apple was like, I'm sure these guys think we're funny. And you know what? Yeah,
we do. I do think we're funny. Yeah.
I laugh at everything, so know I think it's funny.
And also, like, we probably should spend more time producing this.
I read a thing. This guy who's a professional podcast maker says he pays an engineer $500 an episode to produce the episode.
Yeah, so y'all are gonna have to start eating more cheese conies and more burgers, and tell them the Post sent you.
We gotta up the Patreon. We gotta get more sponsors.
Yeah, good things ahead in the year of our Lord 2025. Hopefully for the FC and for the PostCast. I hope.
I think it'll be a good year.
I think
for everybody.
Absolutely, nothing bad will happen.
Except
it won't be a good year for.
I can't. It's Christmas.
Oh.
Can I?
You could do it.
All right.
Do it.
Bah humbug, Columbus.
Right, there you go. Yeah, there we go. Merry Christmas to all. Bah humbug, Columbus.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy PostCast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to the show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.